He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
All right, welcome to The Alex Marlow Show. It is my favorite style of show today. It's a clip show. We're playing clips. We're in the middle of a breaking news atmosphere, which I dig so much. I always recommend you heading over to Breitbart.com for the latest. But Robert Kennedy Jr. is in Washington. He's trying to make America healthy again, despite all the Democrats who are trying to stop him, which is unbelievable. He's a Kennedy. He was a Democrat until 20 minutes ago, and now he's the greatest threat to something. How could that be? Because he thinks outside the box, and he's got ideas that are trying to get stuff rooted in science again, rather than rooted in whoever's getting the kickback from whoever. So he spoke quite a bit on a number of topics. I want to play a lot of it, and let's just get right into it. Here we go.
15% of American youth are now on Adderall or some other ADHD medication. Even higher percentages are on SSRIs and benzos. We are not just over-medicating our children, we're over-medicating our entire population. Half the pharmaceutical drugs on Earth are now sold here. 70% of the profits from pharmaceutical companies are from the United States, even though we only have 4.2% of the world's population. Not only that, but a recent study by Cochrane Collaboration.
Notice how he's just sharing facts. These are just all true things, and they're troubling. He's not necessarily offering explanations, but he's suggesting this is not good, and maybe we should think about it. Benzos are incredibly addictive to people. The SSRIs, which are very useful for treating depression for a lot of people. Well, are we more or less depressed now than we were 20 years ago? Feels like we're more depressed. Feels like there's more people I know who are depressed, and it feels like it's getting worse. So I think a lot of that is lifestyle. Can't all blame the pharmaceutical companies on everything, but it'd be nice if we could have a conversation about how we've never been more medicated and we never seem more off kilter. So is that just observational? Maybe, but we're starting from a premise that the pharmaceutical companies in this country are the very heavy lobbyists in Washington. And they have there's much incentive for the both political parties to do their bidding. He's identifying this, and he wants to fix it. Seems like a good thing.
Cochrane Collaboration founder Peter Ghosh found that pharmaceutical drugs are the third largest cause of death in our country after heart attacks and cancers. Oh, they're not making us healthier. We need community health initiatives. We need access to treatment. We need exercise. We need better food.
Yeah, that's right. We need exercise, we need better food more than we need the pharmaceuticals. And I'll say this as someone, again, who comes from a family that does Western medicine, makes their living in Western medicine, I'm not opposed to pharmaceuticals. I just think we're just overprescribed on stuff. It's the on a personal level, and not say it'll always be this way, but I raw dog it. I take an antihistamine because I got some allergies. That's it. So it's the Advil sometimes. That's about it. Like, I'm not on stuff. So it feels like if you can do it, not everyone's that lucky. They need stuff for various things. There's some miracle drugs out there. I'm not saying there's not. But trying to do things au natural is, can we talk about that? Or is that not good because someone's going to lose money if we try to do stuff ourselves? We do stuff with diet and exercise, with getting good night's sleep, with food for the soul, going to church. Pharmaceuticals are not always the solution, and that does feel like where we run to quickly and the most often these days. It's time for reset. Let's continue. This is where you're going back and forth with all these Democrats. They're all super interesting. I want to play this one. I got to kind of the chase. This is my favorite one that I saw so far. This is him with Senator Bernie Sanders.
They are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next.
You'll notice this throughout. They can't stop talking about money. The Democrats think that the biggest health issue of our time is money. It's all about money. It's not about lifestyle. It's not about truth. It's not about science. It's about money. They keep returning this. But he's commenting on Robert Kennedy apparently sells some onesies that say unvaxxed and unafraid for babies who cannot read. Babies cannot read. It's a joke for grown-ups. It's all a joke, Bernie. We have fun. We're fun
Next
people.
one is no vax, no problem. Now, you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines.
You guys get that? You know what's the threat to this republic? Those onesies, those baby onesies with the vaccine
Can you
commentary.
tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is
Are you supportive of these
normally
onesies?
anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the
it's
organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blackman.
Oh my God. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Misty, will you please get, are you supportive of these onesies? And isolate that for me. Oh my God. I had no clue I was going to have so much fun at work today. That is fantastic. Let me explain it. It does not need any explanation. It's just funny. Everyone knows it's ridiculous. And Sanders looks like a total fool. And he is a fool. He's always been a fool. And any of you got suckered in by him, well, welcome to reality. But here's the deal. First of all, he doesn't control the organization. Second of all, he says repeatedly he's pro-vaccine. Third of all, it's a joke. Babies can't read. Fourth of all, the onesie is not a threat to you. Fifth of all, it's born of the fact the establishment in Washington, the permanent political class, the consultant class, bureaucracy, and every single Democrat, other than Robert Kennedy apparently, was out there saying that you need to inject yourself, including your children, with the experimental COVID vaccine or you're going to kill grandma. Now, those of you who've been with me a long time, I'm very much in the gray area relative to other conservatives on that vax. I think it was way oversold. I think it was totally unnecessary for young people, completely irresponsible to give it to children, flat out. Marginally useful to some degree for older people, infirm people. So I'm not in that camp that thinks that everyone was just dropping dead because they took it. I'm not there. I don't think there's anything backing that up. But I will tell you that people who had a reaction that they were going to make fun and use ridicule, the people who were suggesting that if you don't vaccinate your babies, then you're going to kill the grandparents. Anyone who wants to make fun of those people, I'm good with it. I love it. In fact, I applaud it. I congratulate it. So, man, those onesies, that is, you got to confirm them, right? You got to get 100%, right? I mean, after that, it's just, what a farce. All right, my second favorite, we got Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas herself, or as we call her, Breitbart, Pocahontas. This was fun.
I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people
I don't
to the
understand
CDC vaccine panel.
I understand this. You guys had your top guy in public health for the last 30 or 40 years in the country, was responsible for funding gain and function research at the Wuhan lab in China. That lab unleashed a global pandemic that killed millions of people, divided us. A bunch of other people got hooked on drugs. A lot of these pharmaceuticals he's talking about OD'd or ruined their lives over it, relapsed or they were addicts. And you guys just pardoned him and sent him off with a $400,000 a year pension. And you're acting like Robert Kennedy's the problem? Of all the problems facing the medical establishment in this country, Robert Kennedy is not in the first 100 million. What are we doing here? You're going to publish anti-vaccine conspiracies on our letterhead. Lady, you guys were the ones funding the Wuhan lab. We're taking crazy pills. Is she dumb, Elizabeth Warren? I know she's not dumb, right?
Panel
Sounds
who
dumb.
share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts.
No, she cannot say program. That's only people in the South can say program, right? She's in Massachusetts. She does not have the right to say program.
You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change.
No, he won't. He's not going to do any of that. He's not going to make it. If there's no cause, then he's not going to do it. That's not what he's all about. This is the whole reason why I'm excited about him, is because he does seem to be evidence-based. He's trying to find evidence to support his claims. He is as neutral as it gets. His agenda is, he's got some stuff he cares about, but his agenda to me strikes me as far less than anyone else's who would be up for such a job. He seems less committed to ideology and more committed to what does the science actually say, which is what we want.
You could
That's what I
change
want.
vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefits.
This is called a litany. It's not convincing anyone, but she's very happy to hear herself talk.
You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as Secretary will also.
It's money. They just want to talk about money. We have a obesity epidemic in this country. We're all addicted to stuff. We're getting increasingly unhappy. We're increasingly divided. We're increasingly isolated. We have illegal aliens overrunning our healthcare system in a lot of places. Do you guys see any of the viral footage online of a lot of these Southland hospitals that are empty now because people don't want to show up in case they might get deported? Interesting, right? I'll tell you that we in the Marlow household, Mrs. Dr. Marlow treats a lot of legally alien patients. And because you don't ask. You don't know. You assume, but you don't ask. You know, she worked at a county hospital for a long time. And you don't ask for the papers before you get world-class care from highly trained American doctors who took boatloads of student loans out to go through American medical schools. So that's how we run our system currently. And the problem is that Bobby Kennedy might make money off of a lawsuit suing someone. Okay, sounds insane. Let's hear a little more.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You have said
you're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk.
Yeah, it's just shilling for the vaccines, which I just don't get it, is why can't we just look at stuff case by case based off of the science? Some vaccines are great. Some are so-so. Some are not great. Or at least not great for certain age groups. What's so hard about this? They just always have some sort of a agenda they're pushing. Does anyone ever come into any of these things without an agenda, or did you always have to come in and just try to prove your points about whatever it is that you already have, your preconceived notions? Anyone actually want to hear his ideas? Okay, more clips. Here he is with Catherine Cortez Masto.
You keep citing the Trump administration and you're just going to follow what they say. Is that what you're doing? You're just a rubber stamp for them in this position? So anybody, so it doesn't matter that you're before us. It could be anybody coming before us as long as they're a rubber stamp for this administration and disregarding your beliefs and what you think. I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues as you're moving forward, knowing that it's going to harm Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay.
They know if he talks, he's going to get confirmed. So they kind of don't really want him to talk. Because if he does talk, then he's going to make it, right? So that's why they have to try to get him to spend as little time as possible talking. Because once he gets going, he's going to have good explanations. So the objective has got to be shut him down fast, and then that will be their best
President
chance.
Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And
So is that the only reason why you're at HHS? Is that the only reason
Yeah,
why then you're
talk.
at the HHS to address that one issue?
He's going to tell you what he's going to do,
President
lady.
Trump has asked me.
Hold on. I want to put this back because this is unbelievable what she says.
So is that the only reason why you're at HHS? Is that the only reason why then you're at the HHS to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me because I'm in a unique position to end that. And that.
So she asks, is the one issue for Health and Human Services to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again? Do you know what my answer would be to that? Yes, it is. That's the one issue. It's not about allocation of resources. It's not about preserving Obamacare. It's not about making sure that any of the various lobbyists who fund the Democrats' campaigns get all full up so they can all wet their beak. No, it's about making America healthy again. That's the whole point. So you got a guy who's thought critically about this issue for 20 years, is a nonpartisan, well-connected, says he wakes up every morning and prays to God that he gets the opportunity to actually help this country beat chronic disease. So, and a lot of it is not going to be treated with medication. A lot of it's going to be treated with diet and exercise. Believe it or not. Old school. So, and we're not going to be worried about where all the expenditures are going every second. We're going to be worried about trying to make America healthy.
And that's the one what job I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking. Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically to our military, to our health, to our sense of well-being. And it is a priority for President Trump. And that's why he asked me to run the agency. And if I'm privileged to be confirmed, that's exactly what I'll do.
She should have cut him off. That was just too good. How do you not confirm a guy who thinks that way? It's exactly right. He wants to hold us accountable for our own health. He knows whatever we're doing is not working. I disagree. I disagree with the COVID stack because that does imply that a lot of countries don't report accurately. Like China barely lost anyone to coronavirus. Do you guys know that? So, because they don't report the truth. But overall, we did, of course, lose a lot of people. A lot of it, of course, is related to our obesity epidemic. We got half the country's overweight or obese or more, probably more. Not getting any better. All the Medicare expenditure, Medicaid expenditures on earth is not going to fix that. So we need a new regime in place. Let's hear some more.
For President Trump's policies on Title X, I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy. I agree with him that we cannot be a moral nation if we have 1.2 million abortions a year. I agree with him that the states should control abortion. President Trump has told me that he wants to end late-term abortions, and he wants to protect conscience exemptions, and that he wants to end federal funding for abortions here or abroad. That's Title X. I serve at the pleasure of the president. I'm going to implement his policies.
Thank you for that.
I serve at the pleasure of the president. I'm going to implement his policies. And what are his policies? No late-term abortions. We're not funding foreign abortions. And we've got some protections, some places, and it's a states' right issue. It's got to be the most mainstream position imaginable, right? I mean, that is centrism. That's a centrist position. So it's just so not controversial. You should get every vote. It's not even close. We are a deeply unhealthy nation, and we've got one guy who's 7 years old. He's thought about this his whole life. He's nonpartisan. He's completely shredded. And he wants to give it a shot. And we're like, no way, not this guy. Right down the middle on abortion. Says he's going to follow the president who we all voted for. I'm laughing because I should be crying. This shouldn't even be happening. He should be done. It should be all through.
Would never make, because there's no science on that.
Well,
Senator.
there is, Senator. I mean, excuse me, there is, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you for the promotion.
The science shows that there is.
That's Senator Tina Smith. She's from Minnesota. She's a real dynamo. Calls him Senator. It's funny. Funny clip. Okay, all right, we got a little more.
Federal funding of the SNAP program, for example, and of school lunch programs could be a driver for helping kids. We shouldn't be giving 60% of the kids in school processed food that is making them sick. We shouldn't be spending 10% of the SNAP program on sugar drinks. So we have a direct ability.
Do you guys get that? 60% of the SNAP program on sugar drinks. I didn't fact check them before the show, but do you know what a hoax the sugar drinks are? I mean, you know what a hoax Big Juice is? We should be focused on Big Juice. We're focused on pharmaceutical companies. I mean, Big Juice is such a hoax. It's you know how many 50 grams of sugar for orange juice, and they're just pounding it all day long. Everyone's getting sick. Everyone's fat. You got to cut the juice out. It's I do a juice. You know what I do for how I do the juice? It's almost all vegetables. It's got one apple in there to sweeten it. And it's a bunch of kale and some cucumbers, some celery. And you don't juice it. You just drink it like a smoothie. So you get all the fiber and the nutrients in it. And then you have some protein with it. It's a light meal. You could do it that way. That's not what we're doing. We're just getting some orange juice from concentrate. We're just hammering it. Then we're getting some sugar Cokes going, some Kool-Aid. It's completely insane that we do this. We feed our kids this stuff out of packages. We got a million ingredients. We're not doing the peanut butter sandwich with just, bread and peanut butter and some jam. We're doing the stuff that's got 50 ingredients in it. Comes in a package. Bunch of high fructose corn syrup. We all are lethargic. We're all overweight. Like, why not try something else?
To change things there. We also, in Medicaid and Medicare, we need to focus more on outcome-based medicine, on putting people in charge of their own health care.
Yes.
Of making them accountable for their own health care so they understand the relationship between eating and getting sick. Most importantly, we need to deploy NIH and FDA to doing the research to understand the relationship between these different food additives and chronic disease so that Americans understand it and make sure that Americans are aware. But I don't want to take food away from anybody. If you like a cheeseburger, a McDonald's cheeseburger, or a Diet Coke, which my boss loves, and you should be able to get them. If you want to eat Hostess Twinkies, you should be able to do that. But you should know what the impacts are on your family and on your health.
What do you add? It's just perfect. Every word's perfect. Let's continue. A couple more.
All of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine? Or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape.
He never says he's anti-vaccine. He says certain vaccines are not good. We're over-vaccinating. We're not thinking about the vaccines, and we're not looking into if there's any correlation with the vaccines, any side effects at an adequate level. It's funny because I guess we're just run by extremists now. We're just, the whole country is either you're pro-vaccine or you're anti-vaccine. Why can't you be pro some vaccines for some people and skeptical of some vaccines for other people and against some vaccines for some people? So is nuance completely dead?
All of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast, and we'll see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to.
Oh, whoa. So they cut off for every person. He just said there's no vaccines that are safe and effective for every person, but they cut off the for every person part. That explains it. So that's it. In case you missed that, I'll play it back one more time because this explains the whole thing. I'm learning this now. I was not aware of this, but this is, I guess, the whole origin of the conspiracy theory that he hates all vaccines. We've solved it. We've solved the mystery. Misty, we did it. We get the CSI award for us at the Alex Marlow Show.
We'll see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
All right. So,
all right, there you go. That's it. We're good. We'll, I'll clear the board with this incredible drop. I just saw in my queue.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
You supportive of these onesies. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right. I hope he gets through and we'll keep you posted on how that goes. Carolyn Kennedy, who is a Kennedy cousin, and really is bad choice in glasses. She was out there dividing up the family, calling him a predator. I just don't get it. It's just I used to feel like this country really loved individuals. We loved extraordinary human beings who on their own were changing the world. And now we just all conformists. So he's promised to ensure tax dollars support healthy foods, scrutinize chemical additives in the food supply. Oh no. He's going to scrutinize chemicals in the food supply? How are we going to survive this? Oh man. We're happy, right? Like, or are we disturbed that this is somehow not entirely embraced by everyone? There's so much winning going on, and I'm just it feels like we're getting some converts. This has got to turn a lot of people off, doesn't it? Dr. Phil 2.0 was out there saying, Selena Gomez, dry your eyes, rapists don't deserve your tears. That's pretty cool. I played that great Selena Gomez clip where she was crying because we're doing some deportations. Just tell everyone in your life, everything's going to be fine. That's it. It's lightly condescending and also true. So just tell them. It's fun. It's fun to say, hey, everything's going to be okay. You know what? We're going to get through this. Everything's going to be fine. Hey, it's okay. Not a big deal. It's the rush to defend people who are rapists and murderers that they must stay in the country. I don't know. It's just a desperation thing, right? And the New York Times kind of tipped it today. They had an article saying the Democrats are frustrated that Trump has his flood the zone strategy. He's just trying to do so much in a row. And that's the issue, is that they can't keep up. He came out and signed another executive order. He's going to defund schools that teach gender ideology and critical race theory. Of course he should. He's just doing the stuff we all wanted. It's pretty unbelievable to think about how little we got done in this country for so long. Because now you think about it, and Trump's just doing all the stuff in the first 2 weeks that my whole movement that I've been a part of, really that since high school, definitely since college. And some of you have probably been following conservative politics for 50 years plus in the audience. And we never just did the stuff we promised. We always talked about it and then got discouraged and then caved to Democrats and talked ourselves into reasons why we weren't doing it. And Trump's just signing executive orders that we are not going to teach kids gender ideology. We have zero tolerance in Marlow household. We totally not tolerated anything that's even verging on the gender bender stuff. We just shut it down right away. And no toleration of it. It is completely, we're just not doing it. We're not going to indulge it because I'll tell you, I know that the opposite, the approach where you're extreme tolerance of anti-science stuff, that's what's leading to all the chemical castrations, what's leading to all the suicides and the mental illness. It's just leading to the confusion and it's leading to erosion of families. That's what we've got through all the gender ideology stuff. So it's got to go. It's got to go away. And you should not get government money for schools that are teaching anti-science and racism. Critical race theory is racist. and we don't need to do a whole critical race theory show today, but it is fundamentally racist, and we can spend more time on it. The original reporting on critical race theory in mainstream American life done by Andrew Breitbart and Joel Pollack, right before Andrew Breitbart died, with Joel, talking a lot about the people who Barack Obama studied underneath. Barack Obama was studying under the founders of critical race theory at Harvard and clearly applied that to some degree in his life. So definitely a complex intellectual type topic if you really want to get into the details of it. But in essence, the effect it has on mainstream society is it teaches us to be more conscientious of race, more scrutinizing of race, and essentially assuming that most of the facts that we take for granted are not necessarily facts because they are part of a white patriarchy structure where the cis-hetero white males are controlling society and manipulating it in such a way so that they are always favored. So we got to get rid of that stuff. It just, we don't have enough time. We don't know enough history. We don't know enough math. We don't know enough reading. If we were number one in history, number one in math, number one in reading, then we could take some time to learn about critical theories. But we're not number one. I'd say we're not number one in anything, I don't think. I mean, are we number one in a single academic category at this point? Fill me in if I'm wrong. Maybe higher education. We get the best higher education, I guess, but it's such a racket. It's so well funded because it's funded by the government. It's funded by donors. It's funded by debt. So it's just good to see Trump just coming in and doing stuff. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has pulled General Mark Milley's security details, suspended his clearance, and ordered review of his conduct. I will tell you, neutral to the security detail pull. If he's really under threat, then we don't want him to get hurt because that'll look bad for all of us. I love that his security clearance is suspended. Absolutely should go away right away. Should not have any access to any security, classified, nothing. Because all he's going to do is use it to spy on behalf of his political community, i.e. left-wing Democrats, or to sell it to make money. Both of those should be completely unacceptable, so that's good. And ordering a review of his conduct, this is where I give Secretary Hegseth a hearty round of applause for that. That's what I want. I want the investigations. I'm going to be writing this. You're going to be hearing this a lot in the show, that we need to be investigating the bad guys. We need to hold them accountable. We need to fight fire with fire. Their playbook was to investigate us. They found nothing, and they still harassed all of us, put a lot of us in jail. And they actually did wrong. They broke laws, and we had to figure out what they all were, how they did it, how they colluded amongst various entities in this country that ought not be colluding. We want to see the extent of the collusion, who were the major players, what was done. What did they know was wrong or illegal that they continue to do anyway in the name of the political game that they were playing to defeat Donald Trump and his movement? So ordering review of his conduct, that is awesome. All right. I want to update you on a couple of things that we've been talking about in the show. I mentioned with Nolte yesterday in the show, which was really fun, that Captain America had said that Captain America does not mean America to him. He was in Italy, so I hate when rich Americans do this. Captain America represents a lot of things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those. Anthony Mackie, the star, said. So that's the sort of a Barack Obama line. We only believe in American exceptionalism in the sense that the Czech Republic believes in Czech exceptionalism. So we just root for us like it's a sports team. Just we grew up in LA, so we like the Rams. No, we have a unique set of values in this country that are the best set of values that any country in the history of the world was founded upon. And we were touched by God that we had the brilliance of our founding fathers, the framers of our Constitution, that were walking the earth in the same general geographic vicinity at the same time. It was clearly an act of God. That's what American exceptionalism is all about. And if you don't believe that, then we have a lot of fundamental disagreements, in my opinion. But Anthony Mackie's walked it back. He says that he's a proud American now. All right, good, fine, fine. Let him walk it back. I wish he'd make the mistake to begin with, but let's just get people straight, get their minds right. Let's move on. Still tracking fires here in California. I'm going to keep giving you updates on this because this is going to be a big thing on Trump's plate. If Trump can solve this problem, then he's going to look very good. And if he can't, then it will dog him a little bit. So police could not help the fire evacuations because they were guarding Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden was in California. I don't know what he was doing. I mean, what was he doing out here? I forget that. I know he was out here coincidentally. And the big security detail on Biden, it takes up so much space. I talked to someone, I had a family friend who was on Kamala Harris's security detail. He's in the LAPD bomb squad. And he's explained to me the extent to which the LAPD is inconvenienced when Biden or Harris would come to town. It really is. It's a huge burden on them. The huge amounts of resources go into that stuff. So there were a lot of people were deployed on Biden, and so they couldn't react to the fire, and all these people's homes burned. Just note this for all your global warming super fans in your life, that California is emitting massive amounts of carbon due to the fire. And LA beaches are now closed from Malibu to Playa del Rey. It's got to be 20, 30 miles due to toxic fire runoff. So we had the huge rain over the weekend, and now the fire melted down everything. The rain's hurtling it down into the water, onto the beach. It's all toxic. Who knows how long it's going to be closed. Another thing that hurts the soul that this is happening, but also note if there was better fire preparedness because of all the people who have been screaming about global warming really believed in global warming and thought maybe we would all burn down. Maybe the fires would get worse. If they'd prepared, we wouldn't have to deal with any of this. So just put that in people's faces, and you can do my favorite approach. You ask a question. Hey, why do you think LA didn't really prepare for the fires if they really all believed in global warming? Do you see all the toxic runoff that ruined all the beaches for months? I mean, they had to have known that was a risk. I mean, why didn't they do anything to stop it? Was there even any discussion? Did you guys ever talk about it? Apparently not. Apparently not. Karen Bass said, the mayor of LA, that the Pacific Palisades will be rebuilt by an outside consultant. So the residents whose homes got burned down, not going to be involved, I guess. She said this in a visit with Chief Recovery Officer Steve Soberov, who I was complaining about earlier in a separate show, who is just one of these LA gadflies. He's always everywhere. He's this rhino Republican. His son is a horrible MSNBC journalist who just advocates for open borders and illegal immigration. Rich guy. He had some real estate development that I'm not familiar with. He was actually pretty close to where I grew up, but I've never been there. But he's one of these guys who always pops up and acts like he's good at stuff, and I have no idea what he's ever done. Part of the institutional LA political establishment that's failed the city. And so he's in charge of the rebuilding effort, not a Rick Caruso. You can't put Rick Caruso in charge because then Caruso will just be mayor afterwards because he'll do a good job and then he'll win. And Karen Bass is probably going to have to run for re-election. I don't think she's going to win, but she's going to probably run. So she doesn't want to big up the guy who could take her place. And she says she's planning to hire an outside consultant, according to the LA Times, to handle a significant rebuilding contract. The firm will represent the city's interests. Details of the scope are forthcoming. So they've said they're going to represent the locals, even though there was no notice or consultation with any of the locals. You know, we have several locals at Breitbart. At least one of them lost their house. Now, I don't dig it. Rick Grenell is officially in charge now on behalf of Trump. So he's Trump's liaison here. Grenell's got to get involved. If he doesn't shut this down, then he's got to at least make sure whoever is this consultant is someone who is going to be universally appreciated. So anyway, I'll control myself for the time being, but there's a lot going on, a lot of AI stuff I'd love to talk about. Some of that's up at Breitbart. Trump is going to talk to Xi Jinping. We're keeping a close eye on China. So we need Trump tough on China. So it's big. With Musk in his ear, I'm going to be nervous about this because Musk is Trump's best friend. Musk is very helpful to Trump, preserving his legacy, etc. And I will say to you that Musk does a lot of business in China. Musk is a ruthless businessman, so do not take him literally. And he wants Trump to preserve policy where Musk can do business in China. So that's key. I'm sure China, which is struggling to some degree economically, would love to see more American companies there if they can do it on their terms. So we're keeping a close eye on that. The Fed's having their first meeting since Trump was sworn in. So we got that for you over Breitbart News as well. Lots of great stuff happening in the press. And it's just an exciting time to be around. It's an exciting time to be a part of the news business, I got to say. All right, let's get some email. Elise Bang, Bainbridge, Georgia. Dear Alex, this is my first disagreement with you after so many years of listening. Amazing, right? How is that true? I try to challenge you guys. I don't want the happy talk, but I guess it's a good thing. Maybe I'm persuasive, but I want you to disagree. We're a show that thrives on disagreement. You thought President Trump was insensitive or cold in placing conditions on aid to California. I understand that you are justifiably having an emotional reaction to the horrible disaster where you live. Okay, so here's my thought. No, I'm having a very intellectual reaction, not emotional. I think you're all having an emotional reaction if you're the ones who think that the residents of Los Angeles who pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes in that area, that we're not entitled to any federal support, that it's entirely on the city and the state. Why is natural disaster relief entirely entrusted to the incompetent Democrat city and state governance? I don't understand this. Why is the federal government not involved with this at all? We pay so much money in taxes. It's my housing burned down, but I'll tell you that I pay easily a 6-figure tax burden every single year to the federal government, and greater than that in most years. And I could not afford to live in that Palisades neighborhood. So, those guys are all paying it. Why are they entitled to anything? What's the point of a federal government? What are we supposed to do? Just have these horrible schools that we can't use? I don't get it. What are we here for? This seems like one thing where the federal government should be involved. It's not emotional at all. And I'm glad that Trump put conditions on the aid. I think that's entirely appropriate. Putting conditions on the aid is entirely appropriate. The way he went about messaging initially was that he said, basically, we're not going to do anything. He was suggesting that we don't think that we're going to do anything at all. And he softened the messaging almost right away. And it makes me wonder if people like me had gotten to him. I'm guessing he doesn't listen to podcasts, but if maybe someone on his team had listened to it and mentioned that. So I'm glad the way I worded it, because Trump moderated his approach to a perfect level where he's saying that he's got reasonable requests. He's going to be supportive. He wants people to rebuild, and he's coming in. He's actually being helpful. That meeting last week was very helpful. Karen Bass was not going to let people go to their homes, and now they can. Now he's got Rick Grinnell in there, who's a very competent Californian, Los Angelino, at least at one time. He's going to come in and help be Trump's eyes and ears. That's all productive. So Trump's doing an amazing job. His initial messaging was too callous, I thought. So not an emotional level, a logical level, that people who supported Trump, voted for Trump, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. If you lose your home and then the president says, not my problem, that doesn't feel good. So I'm not being emotional about it. I'm being very, very logical about it. All right, let's continue with this. However, if you helped a drug-addicted relative, but they kept spending your money to buy more drugs, would you continue to give them money? Or would you try to truly help them through rehab? This is all that our president is trying to do. But with that logic, why should I ever pay taxes? Because all you guys do is waste my tax money. Those of you in the federal government, the city government, the state government. Oh, I'm just supporting a drug addict by paying my taxes. Also, if the drug addict's house burns down, you can help him find a place to sleep, right? I mean, you have to let him, your house burned down because you're a junkie. So you sleep on the street tonight. No, you help him a little bit. I'm not saying you pay for everything and you hire all the contractors and you do all the design. I mean, it's a mutual thing. But it's a very extreme to compare what happens when a fire burns down your house and your whole neighborhood, a historic once every 100-year thing, to you being a junkie. Not exactly the same analogy. Anyway, this is all that our president is trying to do. He wants to make sure California doesn't keep suffering when it is possible to improve policies to lessen the damage of future fires. He wasn't being cruel at all. He was being kind and helpful. He was being cruel, and then now he's being kind. Your politicians will never go against the environmentalists and do proper forest management or water management. Can't you see that President Trump is helping you? No, I can now. Now he's being helpful. I don't want my tax dollars going to California if they aren't doing anything to mitigate future damage. I don't want my tax dollars going to the trans in the military. So it's what am I supposed to do about it? You live in a society, and that's part of society is we've got a government. then the government has to allocate resources in a certain way. So we spend $100 billion on Ukraine, and your house burns down, and we get nothing because we've Karen Bass as the mayor. It doesn't quite work. I understand the attitude. It's just very smug and superior and not actually reality. Okay, still, I appreciate the disagreement. Thank you, Elise. All right, let's see. Let's continue. What do we got? We got some more. This is Phil Hall. Hi, Alex. I keep hearing it'll be an uphill battle to win the birthright citizenship battle. It appears to me, though, that the real issue is chain migration that comes along with the new citizen. Is that a constitutional issue, or can we break that chain that brings mom, dad, aunts, uncles, etc.? If so, it seems to me that if the others can't come, then the problem is partially solved. What am I missing? So Stephen Miller, during the first Trump administration, I had a meeting with him almost right away after he got in there, and this was all he talked about. He didn't even talk about the wall as much. Of course he wants the wall, but it was all about chain migration. He thought that was the number one issue at the time. I haven't talked to him recently about it, so maybe his opinion's changed. But I'll tell you, 27-year-old Stephen, I'm not 27-year-old, 2017 Stephen Miller would have said chain migration is number one issue, because once the one illegal alien's here, if they're at all allowed to stay under any circumstances, they're bringing in on average 3 new people on average. Sometimes it's more. And it's cousins and stuff. It's not just immediate. It's not just spouses. So that's the system that the Democrats and the Republican establishment had put into place for a long time that we need to get away from. So we got to do all encompassing. I want the deportations. I want the signal sent that America's closed. That's why I want Dr. Phil out there doing the deportations. I want the Nelk boys. I want Charlie D'Amelio out there. I want Sabrina Carpenter. All the people that are big online, all of you out there doing the ICE raids, whatever publicizes that we're deporting people en masse. That's what I want. But I will say it's not enough. That doesn't solve the whole problem. Chain migration, ending that is a big deal. And that will really, really lighten the load for us in a major way. So very good stuff. All right, so I got a really interesting email from listener Sky King, who says he's super interested in priority gold, and he should be, because now is perfect time to buy gold. There's a lot of volatility going on. It's going to take a while for Trump to implement all of his policies, and one of the best ways to protect your wealth is with gold, specifically with priority gold. And I told you guys that I'm not going to bring advertisers to the show that I don't fully back and think are doing terrific work. Priority Gold is one of those groups. We worked with them for years at Breitbart before they joined this show. And he asked me, when you give out a number, what does that mean? Freedom at 24999. It's this simple. You take out your phone, you send the text message, type in the word freedom, and the number is 24999. You don't need 7 numbers. You don't need 10 numbers. You don't need a country code. All you need to do is text freedom to 24999, and Priority Gold is going to send you a free wealth preservation guide. It's going to help you shield your savings. And even though Trump is going to be able to reverse a lot of the bad stuff Joe Biden's done, it won't be all of it, and it will not happen overnight. So now is the time to lock in. Let's diversify your wealth. You've got options to do things like gold IRAs, which are really smart to do in terms of tax purposes. And they've got all sorts of information once you go over there. You go to PriorityGold.com, and you'll learn so much about why gold is a great place to invest. These guys are good. They help me out a lot. Incredibly communicative people. They want to help you do the smartest things with your money. I genuinely believe that. So you text freedom to 24999. If you can't handle that, go to PriorityGold.com, and then you'll be supporting a couple of good causes. You'll be supporting yourself, and you'll be supporting the show. Can't thank you enough. Check them out. All right, last one for today. Towns Van Sant and Rocks. I'm guessing that's not an actual name. Is Towns Van Sant a rocker? It sounds like a rocker's name. It should be. Anyway, hey, Alex. I love how the lady talking about us not listening to Mexican music fails to note the strong German, Czech, European influences on Mexican music and beer. Those of you who missed the clip of the TikTok lady that Misty pulled for me, who was saying that we're no longer allowed to eat fajitas and we are no longer allowed to eat burritos, you have to roll your R. It's one of these things that I've always found funny where we pronounce words that are, I guess, like Mexican food that we're supposed to act like we have a Spanish accent. We do this thing where we say a Latino, like for some reason we have to do with the accent. I always find that amusing. But we can't eat chips and guac now because of the deportations that are going on. And he notes, I know this is tongue in cheek, but of course, Mexico has strong influences from other parts of the world as well. So where does all this start and when does it stop? What is okay? Is there a statute of limitations? Is there something that can be grandfathered in? So I live in Los Angeles. So here we were initially a part of Mexico. We were actually a part of Spain though first. So am I allowed to eat paella? I don't really like paella as far as I know, because that's the only Spanish food that I know of. Oh, what about that jamon that they like? Jamon Iberico. That seems good. I don't know what it tastes like, but it looks great on Reels. It's like a prosciutto thing, but a Spanish thing. It looks really good. I would do that. So, but we were initially Spain, and before that we were the American Indians. So do I need to be on an ayahuasca trip right now? Do I need to be doing that? Or do we go back to the Mexican days where we were Mexican for a bit? And what type of Mexican is okay for me to eat? Because can I eat a cheesy gordita crunch? That doesn't feel Mexican to me. That feels only like Mexican adjacent. So you can't keep track of that way. This is a silly TikTok lady, but it just shows you that there's no logical thinking. There's no critical thinking skills that are done. It's just, we don't like deportation, so you are no longer to have a tequila. So it doesn't work. No one is going to go by. I think one of the Newsmax guys was just eating tacos on the air. I mean, it's not the highest IQ reaction, but it was funny. It's funny. So maybe we'll just get maybe we'll have a margarita Monday to celebrate. I record the show too early. I wouldn't be opposed to that. We're mostly grown-ups in the audience here, but I'm recording right now. It's noon my time. Way too early for margarita. I got to run, by the way. Larry Kudlow's show. I got to go down and do that right now. So I'll be on that. If you guys set your DVRs, I'm on Laura's show on Friday. If you guys care about such things, I'm popping up a million places. I'm trying to do as much as I can to get the word out about the show, all the great stuff we're doing in Breitbart Fight Club. I talked to Matt Boyle today about his press briefing experience, where he got the first question that we played on yesterday's show. Very cool. And so much for you, Breitbart.com. Exciting times. Make sure to tune in all week long for all those great confirmation clips. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha to AlexMarlow.com. Thank you to Misty. Thank you to telling 10,000 friends and family members about the show. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.